That's my baby.
I'm dying.
That's my baby.
We're going at it at 110%.
I just want 5 minutes of happiness, please. Just give me 5 minutes.
And they scored!
They did it!
Left, beat left.
What the hell was that?
Oh, yeah! What the fuck are you talking about?
Good evening, everyone. It's Monday night, and welcome to the Sports Hounds, airing exclusively here on A2D Radio. He's Brad Ryer. I'm Rob Brinkman. Frank Vesby's producing the show. We're live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Twitter, Periscope, Instagram, Twitch. You miss anything here on A2D Radio, Spreaker, Spotify, Google Play. Like, comment, subscribe, download, wherever you get your podcast. Turn those notifications on. Don't miss anything here on A2D Radio. As always, we're brought to you by our doc, make them yours too, Dr. Paul Vidal, Specialized Physical Therapy, 2 locations, Burlington and Cherry Hill. He's our doc here at A2D Radio, make them yours too. Dr. Paul Vidal at Specialized Physical Therapy, Body Check Wellness, a line of products that promote wellness, balance, and recovery by using the full potential of hemp. They come in extracts, blends, gummies, and topicals. Use promo code A2D for now a staggering 25% off your order. Not bad at all. Also brought to you by the Sunrise Detox Center. Many of us and our families deal with mental health and addiction issues. We are happy to support the Counseling Center at Sunrise Detox. If you need mental health therapy or addiction detox, call 856-651-8117. Tell them A2D Radio sent you. Tell them Tom Arnone sent you. Tell them the Sports Hound sent you. No shame in asking for help. We have a big show tonight. Big fantasy football preview show tonight. We'll get to our poll question in a minute. Brad, we got the Yankees and the Braves, a titanic matchup in the National League, and also a titanic matchup in the American League, at least by my standards. The Chicago White Sox going north of the border to take on the Toronto Blue Jays, two teams that have a lot of talent. Obviously, the Braves and the Yankees, both on 9-game winning streaks. Phillies, after their great 8-game winning streak to get themselves back in the mix. Yeah, they've plummeted. They're now 5 games back. A little bit of an easier schedule. Rhys Hoskins is back. We'll see how that plans out, Brad. We got everything baseball in terms of these pennant races covered. We got fantasy football stuff. Brad, I know that the Ranger family suffered a little bit of a loss.
Yeah, unfortunately, yesterday, Rod Gilbert, Mr. Ranger, the greatest Ranger to ever lace up a pair of skates, had 407 goals, over 1,000 points lifetime, all as a New York Ranger, passed away. And just wanted to mention, my condolences to the Ranger family and to all us fans. Certainly when I was growing up, he was one of my favorite players. He played alongside guys like Brad Park, John Rattel, Eddie Jockman, played on the infamous gag line with John Rattel and Vic Hadfield, and he will be missed. I actually met him, not at a card show, believe it or not, but at the Garden when I was a kid. I had gone to the bathroom, and it was not between periods. It was like right in the middle of a period, and he came out of the bathroom at the same time I did, and he actually stopped, shook hands with me, gave me an autograph. Actually, took a couple of minutes to say hello, and that like made my night. And never forgot it. I think I was probably maybe 16 years old. I think I was just in high school. And that was great. It was, he was one of my favorite players, and he will be missed. He was 80 years old, and hopefully, he will be remembered quite fondly by all the Ranger fans who saw him play. We have a big show tonight, and let's get to it, Rob.
Yeah, we're going to have fantasy football. Wall-to-wall fantasy football. I got a draft Friday, I got a draft Sunday, and I got a draft on Labor Day weekend. So I have been entrenched in my war room fantasy football. I'm going to give you draft strategy stuff. I'm going to give you sleepers, breakouts, busts. It's a little different than real football, and we're going to dive into probably do the AFC next week in terms of real football, NFC the following week, and then it's time to go. Football's here. It's exciting. And Brad, the one thing that I've noticed, and I'm curious to see what you think about it, is preseason play or lack thereof by these kind of skill guys, because there's not. It seems the consensus being, with only 3 preseason games, is that everyone is terrified to get hurt. No one's really playing. Could lead to some rust going into the season. I know Daniel Jones hasn't played a snap in preseason yet.
Nope.
Jalen Hurts, another young quarterback, he didn't play against the Patriots. He played a little bit against the Steelers. The 2 Los Angeles teams, the Sean McVay coaching tree, they're not playing anybody the entire preseason. So is this a big deal, Brad?
Nah, I don't think so, because the problem is these guys are having joint practices with other teams. Last week, the Giants practiced with Cleveland, like 3 days. So Daniel Jones was on the field all day for all 3 days, taking rep upon rep upon rep, and they were doing those joint practices against the Cleveland defense. And he got his chance to play. Just because it's not a game, preseason doesn't mean anything, guys. It means absolutely nothing. The only thing that's important about preseason is when you're looking at your depth chart to see who's going to be second string, who's going to be third string, and if you have a receiver battle, who looks better in the games in preseason. That's really about it. Nobody wants to get their starters hurt. That's a disaster, and it's happened so many times to so many different teams in the past. These coaches don't want to do it anymore. There's too much on the line for all these franchises to lose their franchise quarterback, whether their quarterback is a franchise quarterback or not a franchise quarterback. They don't want their quarterbacks getting hurt. They don't want their top receivers getting hurt. They don't want their running backs getting hurt. If a guy has a little nagging injury, even if it's the slightest little thing, they're not going to play, period. They're not going to take a chance on getting their guys hurt. They want everybody to be healthy to start the season.
And, Jalen Hurts with a stomach infection against the New England Patriots in play.
I wouldn't worry about it, Rob. I really wouldn't.
I'm not worried about it. He looked good enough in his couple of series in Pittsburgh that I can be confident that he can be at least a competent quarterback. Hopefully a whole hell of a lot better than that for my mental sanity state.
I'm sure he'll be confident. I mean, do you think 1 or 2 series is going to make a difference how he plays this season? No. Absolutely not.
No.
So,
but the one thing, it's great for us fantasy footballers because I don't have many injuries to talk about.
And it's nice. It's nice that the guys that that you want to select should be okay and ready to go.
In case you've been living under a rock, a player on the Los Angeles Rams that had a fantasy superstardom written all over him, Cam Akers, a running back, he tore his Achilles in practice, not a game. This was weeks ago. So in case you're living under a rock, don't draft Cam Akers. He tore his Achilles. He won't be playing this season. It leaves a big hole in the Rams' backfield.
Absolutely.
Another running back who's been dinged up is Clyde Edwards-Helaire, CEH, the renowned rookie from last year. He was going as high as the first round in some drafts last year. He's got a little bit of an ankle issue, and that's something to monitor as you approach your draft.
Is it a high ankle sprain or a low ankle sprain?
They said it's not a high ankle sprain, but he's going to miss the same amount of time as it seems like he's going to be out multiple weeks.
Then it's a high ankle sprain. They're just not being honest. So that's okay. I mean, it is what it is.
Brad, I had questions about Clyde Edwards-Helaire coming into the season anyway. Obviously, they've revamped their offensive line in Kansas City, but I have questions about his toughness and his size. And, you hear the dreaded words for running back owners in fantasy football are touchdown vultures. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire just can't punch it in on the goal line. So he's always susceptible to having when he does all the work, gets Kansas City all the way down the field, a guy like Darrell Williams comes in, who's a bigger, tougher back, comes in and steals his touchdowns. So,
well, the other thing you have to worry about is if it's Kansas City, they're liable to throw the ball to Kelsey. I mean that's the other thing. I mean, you have him that you have to worry about. You have You have the fact that he might throw the ball to one of those great wide receivers, or Mahomes might just run it in himself. I mean, it's tough in Kansas City because they have so many different ways they could score. I don't think a running back is going to get most of their touchdowns anyway. So,
no, but Brad, the one thing about fantasy football is that let's get to our poll question. Let's start at the top of the draft board. Then we'll break off into positions. We'll get into draft strategies, sleeper, bust, breakouts. And as always, each and every Monday, we take your comments in the comments section, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Periscope, Instagram. They all come up. They all get read. Our comment board is brought to you by Alan Foy at eXp Realty. Alan.foy@exprealty.com. If you're looking to sell a home, if you're looking to change your career, Alan Foy is the place to do it. That's our comments. Our poll question of the night brought to you by our buddy John Coyle down on the Ocean City Boardwalk at All Campus. Check him out on the boardwalk. There it is. All Campus giving 20% off everything in your store, including hats, shirts, and our team cornhole sets to all our subscribers. You become an A2D Insider member for $9.99 a month to get shout-outs, members-only shows, appearances, and weekly picks from the Money Pop Podcast, which airs every Sunday morning. Going to be a must listen, the Money Pop Podcast, as football season approaches. 10:30 start time each Sunday for the Money Pop Podcast. Again, you turn on those notifications. Don't miss a show. You won't miss the Money Pop Podcast if your notifications are turned on. Like, subscribe, share all of our content here at A2D Radio. It's Takeover Talk here at A2D Radio. Our poll question tonight, Christian McCaffrey should be the first pick in your fantasy football draft. You don't think so, Brad?
Kamara.
You like Kamara? Okay,
I like Kamara.
This is interesting. I thought this was a slam dunk agree poll question, but this is why we're agree to disagree radio. Brad disagrees with the poll. You like Alvin Kamara over Christian McCaffrey. Why?
Because I think he's going to get a lot of touchdowns. That's why.
So you think that QB play or lack thereof potentially in New Orleans is going to catapult Alvin Kamara's stats as opposed to be a detriment? I don't know how I feel about it. It's interesting.
That's the only reason. But Albert Kamara can also is a terrific receiver too. I mean, he's going to get a lot of catches. He can do it all. I mean, let's just be honest about it. The Saints still have a real good offensive line, so he's going to get a ton of yardage. They don't have a particularly difficult schedule in that division, so I mean, he's going to get a lot of touchdowns. You know, I mean, last year, didn't he get 6 touchdowns in one game?
Yeah, on Christmas against the Minnesota Vikings.
Well, yeah, and
right. I think it was what was it, championship week or semifinal week? He dropped 6 touchdowns on
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. I mean, the guy is a touchdown machine. In addition to all those yards, I'm nothing against Christian McCaffrey. I mean, if I had a choice of one or the other, I would probably take Kamara just because of the touchdown factor. I think that Carolina might offensively be a little bit more. How do you put this? There might be more spots for other people to get touchdowns than just McCaffrey.
See, I look at this and I'm interested to get some feedback in the comments because I think that QB play or lack thereof could potentially hurt Alvin Kamara because now when I say hurt Alvin Kamara, like I'm talking about Christian McCaffrey as the first pick, like Kamara is second or third. You have Cook, you have Henry, you have Ezekiel Elliott, you have a couple guys in there that can be talked about. Kamara is certainly one of them. So.
Oh, and I love Travis Henry, but he's not a great receiver. If you're talking about being on the goal line, okay, Travis Henry is the best as far as
Derrick Henry.
I'm sorry, Derrick Henry is Henry. Travis. I don't know what I'm thinking. Derrick Henry is the best player in the league on the goal line. Let's just make sure we understand that. However, Kamara, I just think that he's going to get a lot more touches. I think that the Saints are going to have to really run their offense a lot through Kamara, and he's probably going to be the leader amongst the running backs in stats. And he seems to stay healthy too.
But I agree to the poll. And I think if you're tiering your board like you should ahead of your fantasy football draft, if you want to, get a leg up on your buddies and not have to do a punishment, win a championship, win a trophy, however your league does it, win the money. I look at Christian McCaffrey. He's in a tier of his own. There's not much risk in Christian McCaffrey. Obviously, he got hurt last year, and absolutely no one can predict an injury. Christian,
No.
you can't predict based on him getting a high ankle sprain last year.
I think there's 5 running backs that are top-notch, top-tier running backs that it really doesn't, to me, make that big of a difference. And then there's the fall-off at number 6. And really the only reason there's a fall-off is because I have Saquon Barkley at number 6. So, and if Saquon Barkley is healthy, it's not going to be a fall-off. But, I mean, if you look at the running backs, okay, you've got McCaffrey, Cook, Kamara, Elliott, and Henry. I don't think there's any doubt those are the top 5. And then if Barkley is healthy, he would be number 6. And then there's a big drop down as far as the running backs go.
Well, Brad, you're Mr. Giant. You bleed blue. What's going on? Is Christian McCaffrey going to play week 1? How should
you mean Barkley?
Yeah, Barkley. I'm
Barkley.
sorry. Yes.
Yeah, Barkley. From what I'm hearing, he is, but I don't know for sure. I mean, they're being very, very close-mouthed. I mean, I haven't seen him play. I haven't seen him practice. I don't really pay that close attention, to be honest with you, to preseason football. I don't really watch the practices on the internet or do any of that sort of thing. I just wait till the season starts because to me it's boring and they're not going to really show you anything. All they're going to show you is the great things that they do. You're not going to see them stumbling over themselves or not performing. So I don't know what the deal is with Barkley. I'm guessing. My opinion is I don't think he's going to be fully healthy until like week 4. He probably will be playing. If I was to guess, I think he will be playing week 1. I don't know if he's going to be the feature back week 1, though. I think they may wait and make sure he gets himself into top physical playing shape before he's the lead back. I think you'll probably see guys like Booker getting the ball a little bit more. That would probably be my opinion and my best guess. And you'll see Barkley getting the ball probably 10 to 15 times to start the season and maybe to start the first few games, just until he gets his feet on the ground. I mean, he missed a lot of time. So, as I said, I think the first 5 running backs that I mentioned, I think it doesn't matter. Any one of those in any order you can take. I happen to like Kamara, so, I mean, maybe I'm a little prejudiced because I like Kamara. He's always been one of my favorite running backs. So, I mean, if somebody thinks that if you'd rather have McCaffrey, I'm not gonna argue with you about it. I don't think that
there's no risk. To me, there's no risk in McCaffrey.
I don't think there's any risk. I don't think there's any risk in Kamara either, and I don't think there's.
Yeah,
there's
but I could make a case. I could make a case to somewhat devalue the other 4 running backs besides McCaffrey on your list. I can't do that with Christian McCaffrey. And I think Carolina is going to be a good football team this year because Matt Rule has his head on straight. They have a franchise quarterback who's out of a toxic situation in Sam Darnold with the New York Jets. They have a great offensive coordinator in Joe Brady. They have pretty good receivers. The offensive line's a little iffy. So I guess that would be the one drawback on McCaffrey.
Their defense was pretty good last year.
Yeah, well, Matt Rule's a defensive coach.
Yeah, their offense, if their offense can catch up with their defense, they'll have a pretty good team. I just don't know that I'm not that high on Darnold anymore. I'm really not. I don't know that.
I think
they're going to have to run the ball to be effective.
I think Darnold and Wentz are terrific quarterbacks, franchise quarterbacks that are out of toxic situations in Philadelphia and New York. And I
can't
think
disagree with that.
Really gonna do well this year, which is gonna help Christian McCaffrey's draft stock. Christian McCaffrey to me is in a class by himself at the top of the draft. I mean, I guess if you want to take Kamara or Derrick Henry first in your draft,
or Cook,
but you really got to look at your rules as well, because if you're in a touchdown-only league or a non-PPR league, then Derrick Henry might be the right pick for you. I only play in PPR leagues, which is point per reception. So obviously that significantly values players like Kamara and McCaffrey. Cook's pretty good at catching the ball. Zeke Elliott is also a pretty darn good receiver as well, even though he doesn't get the publicity that Kamara or McCaffrey get.
Henry really doesn't catch a lot of passes.
No, he doesn't need to because he's 260 pounds and just runs everybody over.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So you may not get as many, but one thing you're pretty guaranteed with Henry is that he's going to get the ball 25 to 30 times a game. And that's just the way it is with Henry. He is a superstar level running back.
Now I'm worried about the Titans a little bit because they got a shiny new toy on the outside in Julio Jones, and they have a pretty darn good receiver on the other side of him in A.J. Brown, the second-round draft pick a few years ago. I'm worried that the Titans might kind of get out of their element. They might get a little pass happy, and that will hurt their offense and their team. So that's my drawback on Derrick Henry. Again, you're nitpicking here with these top 5 running backs.
Here's the thing, though, Rob. With Jones as a receiver, you can't put 8 guys in the box.
It's true.
So, listen, it's kind of up to whoever's doing their draft what they think.
Let's pick your poison with the Titans.
Yeah. The only negative with Henry is he doesn't catch that many passes, and most leagues that I've seen, usually you get a point per catch, and Henry's going to get a lot of touchdowns. He just is. If the Titans have first and goal inside the 10-yard line, they're going to try to run it in first before they throw it in.
It's interesting because you don't really think of the Titans as like this fantasy juggernaut, offensive powerhouse, but they have the potential to do that this year. I mean, Ryan Tannehill, you want to talk about sleeper quarterbacks, Ryan Tannehill is right at the top of my list for that. We'll get into more of that later. You got 2 great receivers, Derrick Henry. You think of defense and special teams and those tough teams with Steve McNair and Eddie George from the early 2000s when you think of the Titans, but times are changing down there in Tennessee. They're going to score. They should score a lot of points.
You would think so.
And then you look at Dalvin Cook, who would probably be my second guy behind McCaffrey.
A little nervous about his injury history, though. He always seems to get hurt.
Injury. So we're going to talk about handcuffing when it comes to draft strategy as well. You got to get his backup on your team if you're going to draft a guy like Dalvin Cook, especially that high, Alexander Madison, who's a pretty good back. He can put up some numbers when Cook was out.
A guy like that will be available late, so you can always pick him up late.
Right. And then you have Zeke, who's also in that top 5. Their offensive line is going to be better. But now you got, whether it's, propaganda or fake news or however you want to analyze it, this Dak injury, shoulder injury that seems to be been lingering for years, looks like it's going to be a factor the entire season, according to Adam Schefter. I think that hurts running backs. When you have diminished quarterback play, I think that hurts running backs. That's why I have Zeke and Alvin Kamara as 4 and 5. Kamara 4, Zeke 5, and then I would go McCaffrey, Cook, Henry. That's how I would rank the top 5 running backs.
So I don't think the Saints are going to really have a problem with a quarterback. Drew Brees was just not good last year. No, I think Taysom Hill is going to be fine.
I don't know.
Listen, they did pretty well with him. They did pretty well with him.
I don't even know that he's going to be the guy. I think it might be Jameis Winston, who's a knucklehead.
It might be. Listen, again, I don't know. I'm not a Saint fan. I don't really pay attention to that right now. I haven't been paying that close attention to that because that's a quarterback situation. Listen, I'm sure that they'll make the right pick because they're smart. They're a smart organization, and they'll do what they think is the right thing. And you know what? If it doesn't work out, they're not afraid to make changes either.
But, I worry about the turnovers if Jameis is in there. And then I have no idea what Taysom Hill's going to be if he's playing 40 snaps a game, 50 snaps a game, 60 snaps a game. I have no idea.
I can tell you what his strategy is going to be. They're going to hand the ball to Kamara. They're going to throw screen passes to Kamara. That's kind of what they do. That's what Drew Brees was doing all these years.
And they also have that doesn't look like Michael Thomas is going to be ready for the start of the season either.
It doesn't. I don't even know if he's going to be on the Saints this year. That's a big question.
Well, they had a meeting, and supposedly it went well, according to sources. So
we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see
what happens. But bottom line is he's not healthy right now.
No.
So I'm assuming you would put that as he's the only guy there. Kamara is the only guy there, and I don't think they're going to win that many games there. Which obviously his usage rate is going to be through the roof. But I mean, if you're an opposing defense, when is enough with Alvin Kamara? Like the team should just take the Bill Belichick approach to playing the Saints and being like, okay, if Marquez Callaway and Traquan Smith and Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston and Latavius Murray, if those guys want to beat us, have career days, that's fine. We'll live with that. But we're not going to let Alvin Kamara beat us.
I think I think a lot of teams have tried that over the years, and it just doesn't work. Guy's a big-time player.
Right, but also last year, Drew Brees was obviously diminished, but
Drew Brees was not good last year. He really was.
He was still okay. They still won that division. They still won a playoff.
Well, they won it because their defense was really good last year.
I mean, you can't make hay in this league with bad quarterback play. So Drew Brees wasn't.
No, I would agree. I would agree with you. That's why they ended up losing.
Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill have the potential to be bad.
Absolutely. You're right about that. But again, you're talking about Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, what has he ever done? I mean, I know he was with the Jets.
Change of scenery, Brad. We see it all the time across the whole landscape.
No, I agree. I agree with you, but I'm not sure about Sam Darnold yet. I still need to see a lot more.
Well, that's okay. I'll stand on an island in terms of the sports hounds when it comes to Sam Darnold. I think the Panthers are really going to make some noise in the NFC South, a division that I don't think is very good.
I don't say that division's awful. So anything could really happen in that division.
I mean, you have Tampa
Bay is obviously.
You got all 22 starters back from a Super Bowl champion team. Obviously, they're going to be a factor, but second place is wide open there, and I think it's the Panthers to lose. I really like the direction of that franchise.
I don't think they're going to make it. I don't think they're a playoff team, though.
We'll see. I'm still formulating my playoff predictions.
Yeah, I'm not sold on them as a playoff.
Well, they don't have a good they don't have a good offensive line, which it doesn't really come into play too much when you're drafting your fantasy football team, but when you're making your playoff predictions and having to play real football, your offensive line is a big deal, and the Panthers don't have a very good one. So that could be.
Well, the Saints do. I mean, that's the one thing they do have is they do have a good offensive line.
It'd be interesting. You could probably make a case for every team to finish second in that division, even the Falcons. I've seen stranger things happen in the Falcons, who don't have enough publicity coming into the season to be better than the Saints and the Panthers.
I don't know. The Falcons, I think, are going to be a pretty bad team right now. I have them in last place.
I probably would too, but I mean,
right now, I would have Tampa Bay, then New Orleans, Carolina, and Atlanta. But I don't think any of those teams are going to be all that great this year. You know, maybe the Saints finish 9-8. I mean, I could see that.
I mean, maybe. I don't trust their quarterback situation, so it's hard for me to predict them to go over 500. And that's why it's hard for me to take Alvin Kamara first in my fantasy football draft. I'm going with CMC.
There is also an injury history with McCaffrey too. I mean, I'm not sure that
one season with a high ankle sprain, I'm not really classifying that as an injury history. That's just me. Dalvin Cook has an injury history. He was injured in college. He's been injured in the pros. It seems like every season he misses a couple of games. That's an injury history. One season where you have a high ankle sprain that lingers.
Well, he hasn't been in the league that long either, so we'll see.
All right, let's check out the comments here. Thomas Arnone, I guess I agree with the poll. If he's healthy, he's the best fantasy-wise, especially in a PPR league. Probably, if you don't get a point for a catch, I'd probably disagree to the poll and go Henry. But, I mean, it's archaic. archaic to not be in a PPR league, at least a half-point PPR league.
Well, I don't know how many leagues do that. Most leagues have points for receptions. You get 1 point for a reception, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
Chuck's Mataran's in the house. Check him out on Birds of a Feather. I'm sure we break him down some fantasy stuff, some running back stuff, and obviously it's all Eagles all the time there. Jake Friel, if he can stay healthy all season, I definitely agree, but mine would be Kamara. So Jake Friel, he agrees with you. Andy Atkinson, one of the national experts, predicted Hurts as a breakout. I love hearing that, but realistic. Look, Jalen Hurts is going really late in drafts, so there's not much risk in Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts has a leg up on the other quarterbacks being drafted around him because of his athleticism and the production he's going to
produce. He can run the ball. He'll get some yardage running, and he will score some running touchdowns too.
So Jalen Hurts might stink and can't hit the broadside of a barn on a 3-step drop, but I think his fantasy production is going to be on par. He'll have starting quarterback fantasy production, meaning he'll be a top 10 to 12 quarterback in terms of fantasy points.
Well, couldn't you make the same argument about Taysom Hill then?
No, I can't.
So he can run.
No, but Jalen Hurts can throw the ball better than Taysom Hill.
Oh, I don't know about that. He hasn't proven that at all. They both have something to prove, but he hasn't proven that yet.
Look, we talk about it all the time. Tom Arnone says it. I say it. You have to prove that you can stand in the pocket 20 to 25 times a game to be a franchise quarterback in this league. I have way more confidence in Jalen Hurts to be able to do that than Taysom Hill.
I don't have confidence in either one of them to be honest with you. But
if you have to pick, you're going with Hill?
I think Hill right now is a better quarterback.
I can't even go there.
He won his games last year.
I'm not being biased either because I've said I don't believe Jalen Hurts has to prove to me that he's a franchise quarterback in this league, and he still does. I've been encouraged.
Well, I mean, we're just doing fantasy. I mean, if you're just going by fantasy, the only problem with him is
I don't even know that Jalen Hurts is going to take all the snaps, though, Brad. I don't know what's going on in New Orleans.
No, I don't either. But I mean, again, you're talking a late pick anyway. You're not picking him to be your quarterback. I mean, I think we can both agree that the best time to select a quarterback is probably around the 4th round, 5th round.
I'm a late quarterback guy, and we'll get out of the way. I'll reveal my 10 draft commandments later in the show. I'm a late quarterback guy.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna get a quarterback, depends who you want, but you shouldn't go. I would go around number 5. I would go in your
Patrick Mahomes will never be on my fantasy football team. Not because Patrick Mahomes is bad, but I'm not picking a quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd round.
No, because most quarterbacks, while they may not quite have the same numbers. You can find a quarterback that puts up good numbers in the 5th round of a draft. Okay, running backs to me are the most important
big time
pieces in the draft because you can get both catches and runs, and they have 2 ways of scoring touchdowns.
And Brad, look around the league. How many of these teams, like how many true bell cow backs are there in the league?
The 5 I mentioned would be absolutely
5. I mean, I think David Montgomery is going to be a bell cow in Chicago. I don't believe in Damian Williams or Tariq Cohen. I think Miles Sanders is going to be a bell cow in Philadelphia. I think Nick Sirianni is really going to commit to run the ball. And let me tell you something, after 20 years of Andy Reid and 4 or 5, however many years we had with Dopey Doug, it'll be nice to see a coach actually commit to the running game. So I think Miles Sanders is going to be a bell cow in Philadelphia. I think DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones are going to be.
What about Joe Mixon?
Joe Mixon has no backup to speak of. He's a bell cow back, but he has durability issues in his own right.
Right, and then what about like guys like Nick Chubb?
Kareem Hunt's there. So I can't.
Yeah, I mean they split. They may end up splitting the pie. That's the only problem with those two.
So, like, Nick Chubb is awesome. He's a first, second-round fantasy guy, but I can't sit here and tell the people that he's a bell cow running back because he's not. Kareem Hunt is might be just as talented as Nick Chubb. And they're able to have both of them because Kareem Hunt, had some issues with keeping his hands to himself in Kansas City. But, I mean, I'm not sure if I'm missing any bell cow backs, but
what about Eckler on the Chargers?
Eckler is interesting, and Antonio Gibson is interesting in Washington.
I know McLaren is interested in Washington as a receiver, but I don't know about Gibson.
Well, Gibson's going to be a running back, and the reports are that they're going to give him a big load. Whether he's going to be able to handle that or not, I'm not sure. We'll see. Austin Eckler, he should catch 100 balls. Great quarterback, great offense. I think the Chargers have a chance to be pretty good.
He'll get a lot of carries too.
But I don't think when you say bell cow, I mean, I want to give you ball like 30 times up the middle and just pound the defense into submission. I don't see that as being the games of Austin Eckler or Antonio Gibson.
No. But I think if you're talking about that, I think you're only talking about maybe 3 or 4 guys. I don't think you're going to see Kamara run the ball 30 times a game. He'll run the ball 20 times, and he'll catch between 5 and 10 passes every game. That's probably what you're looking at with him.
But yeah, I mean, I don't believe in A.J. Dillon at all in Green Bay, so I think you could add Aaron Jones to that list as well. Jonathan Taylor, he should be a bell cow in Indianapolis. You just have to keep an eye on that offensive line. Ryan Kelly, Quentin Nelson, 2 outstanding offensive interior linemen. They both missed time this summer with various injuries. And obviously the quarterback there, Carson Wentz, has, as we know here in Philadelphia, has some major issues with staying healthy. So, there's guys out there, but those guys are all going to go early. You got to get your running backs.
Oh, yeah.
Jimmy J had his draft Sunday. Bob Brinkman doesn't think Christian McCaffrey is durable enough to be the first pick. Henry or Kamara for him. I have a hard time labeling Christian McCaffrey as injury prone because of one high ankle sprain. I'm not buying that. Jimmy J took Aaron Jones over Taylor and Eckler at number 8. I would agree with your assessment. Aaron Jones, I think, is better than both of those players. And I would take Aaron Jones. I would take all 3 of those running backs over the Travis Kelce's and Devontae Adams of the world, just because, I got to get my backs. I need my backs. Plus, you take your backs early, you can shift things around. Boy, when these backs start going down, Brad, if you have a stable of backs where you have backs that are expendable, you can really trade and
you can get top quality,
top quality trade value. And I'm a guy who loves being in leagues with active owners and likes to trade a lot. Bryce Blackwell's in the past. We look bad. I'm not sure who he's referring to there, but he's ready for the season. We're ready for the season too. We covered running back, Brad. Let's get into some receivers. Because
Tyreek Hill is obviously the bell of the ball there.
You like him over Devontae Adams?
Yeah. Well, it's him and Devontae Adams, and then the guy on Seattle,
Metcalf.
Yeah, those are the 3 guys. Those are the 3 guys I would say my top 3.
Yeah, I mean, DK Metcalf looks to have all the makings of just an unbelievable, outstanding breakout player. He's got a franchise quarterback throwing the ball in Russell Wilson. He's
also got some help, Rob, because Lockett is no slouch either.
Yeah, but I kind of like that because Lockett is good enough
That's what I'm saying.
Where defenses have to worry about him.
That's my point. You can't go too crazy. You can't go too crazy with Metcalf because Lockett is really fast and he can hurt you. And Lockett's going to get picked up in the draft. He may not be an early pick, but somebody's going to pick him up.
Absolutely. He's a wide receiver too, flex guy option.
Yep.
And they're going to have balance because Chris Carson is maybe one of the most underrated PPR running backs in the league, in my opinion. He was a little nicked up last year, but he's going to get you probably close to 1,200 yards, 50 catches, and 10 touchdowns. I don't think he's going to have a problem doing that at all. And their offensive line is much improved, and they have a great home field advantage, and they just know how to win there in Seattle. They've been doing it ever since Russell Wilson stepped in the door.
Yep.
One receiver I will talk about who I think is going a little bit too high right now is Stefan Diggs. Obviously a great player, but I don't know. I have a hard time putting him.
I think he's on the next. I think he's the next tier. He's like number 4 amongst my quarterbacks. He's like in the next tier from those 3.
That's fair. And I think you nailed your top 3. Your top tier of receivers is spot on. But is Stefan Diggs' production repeatable from last year? That doesn't mean he's not a good player. Just in terms of the stats and the fantasy, is he a 1,500-yard receiver?
I don't know, because they're going to have a better running game this year. They're going to run the ball more, and they've got a little bit more balance to their offense. So I think it's going to help.
Who did they bring in running back? They still just have Singletary and Moss, unless I'm missing something.
Well, Singletary got hurt last year.
I hear you.
So you can't anticipate injuries. I'm thinking Singletary is going to get the ball a little bit more. I don't think that they're going to throw the ball as much to Diggs as they did last year. I think they're going to try to spread it around a little bit more. They have to. They can only get so far. They're never going to be able to beat a team like Kansas City if they rely solely on Diggs. They got to get it somewhere else. They've also got to be able to run the ball.
So I don't know. I tend to think that Diggs, like that, I think last year might have been the best Stefan Diggs has to offer.
I would agree, but I think you're still going to get I still think he's number 4 right now.
I don't know if I'm spending a second round pick on Stefan Diggs though. I think he's going too high in fantasy football drafts. I wouldn't put him in the bust category, but I would.
It depends where you're picking, Rob.
It would be a third round guy for me.
Depends where you're picking. And it depends who's available.
I mean, obviously it depends who's available, but
yeah, I mean, listen. As I said, the first 3 are pretty easy. I mean, could you make the argument that maybe Devontae Adams might get more?
Devontae Adams, they just have such a rapport. They just have such a rapport there.
Yeah, but you could make the argument he might get more catches. Tyreek Hill is going to get is the game breaker. Tyreek Hill has a lot of Jerry Rice in him. He really he's so fast, and he's always open. Nobody can cover him.
But I mean, like I'm taking like guys like Travis Kelce over Stefan Diggs. I'll take Kittle over Stefan Diggs. I'll take Darren Waller over a Stefan Diggs. I'm trying to look at the receivers here.
That's tough.
But the Raiders suck so bad, Brad. I think that they're going to be the worst team in the league this year.
I think they're going to be bad. I would agree with you about that.
They're going to be losing a lot of games. I don't trust their running game with Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake. So I think Darren Waller is going to be piling up statistics all season long.
Well, you also have DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley too. They're both going to be pretty good.
Calvin Ridley, same logic as Darren Waller.
And Jefferson from Minnesota. I mean,
Justin Jefferson. He's going to be
phenomenal too. So there is a lot of good receivers.
And that goes to my point. There's so many good receivers. We can dissect. We can talk for 4 hours about the fantasy viable wide receivers across the league.
I mean, you got Allen, you got Robinson, McLaren. It's a loaded position. I mean, Woods on the Rams, CeeDee Lamb. I mean, the list can go. The list is going to go on. Amari Cooper.
I could rattle off Amari Cooper.
Yeah, there's so many really, really good receivers. Even the guys on the Giants. A couple of Giants receivers are pretty good too.
I will not pick a Giant on my fantasy football team. And I'm not biased when it comes to this stuff because I'll pick Cowboys and Washington football team guys. I think your boys are going to stink, Brad. And I know it caused us to butt heads quite a bit here in preseason football talk, but I can't pick a Giants receiver because I don't believe in Daniel Jones. And I think that picking Saquon Barkley in the first round is suicide. Fantasy.
No, I couldn't do that. Not. I mean, second for him. It depends on where it depends on where you're drafting, but that's too risky in the first round. I gave you the 5 that I would pick in the first round.
Yeah.
You know, the rest of them. If I couldn't get one of those 5, then I would be looking at one of the top receivers. And then maybe second round, third round.
I can't even go there. You got to get your running backs. I
agree.
You get Chubb. I would take Chubb over a receiver. I would take Aaron Jones over a receiver. I would take Eckler and Gibson over a receiver.
I don't know about
the 5 we talked about. You got to get your running backs, man. If you want to load up on receivers and have gaudy receivers that are going to produce and have no running backs, you're gonna get laughed in your fantasy football league.
You're gonna lose that. You're gonna lose if you do that. You've got to get running backs, but I mean, it depends on where you're drafting. You know, if it's a 12-team league, okay, and you're say you're picking 9 or 10, okay, you could easily go ahead and you could pick a top receiver in the first round and then go get a running back in the second round. You know, at 15, you can probably get yourself a pretty good running back. And
hopefully, that's a big gamble. That's a big gamble.
Again, it depends on what everybody else is drafting. There's always some idiot who picks a quarterback. You know that. There's always the idiot that does that. There's a couple. There's maybe 2 idiots that are going to do that. Somebody's going to pick up Rodgers because they can't help themselves, and somebody's going to pick up. What's his name from the Chiefs, Mahomes. You know, I mean, they're just people can't help themselves. You know that. There's always a couple of guys that do that. So you have to see. I mean, if you have your druthers, of course you're going to get the running backs first. But it depends where you're picking and what kind of value you're getting.
Let me give you my 10 draft commandments. Fantasy draft season in full swing. I got one Friday. I got one Sunday. My one Sunday is an auction draft. For those of you who don't know, an auction draft, it's a tremendous amount of fun. You nominate the players. You have a salary cap to build your team. So you got to build your 16-man roster with $200, and you bid for each player amongst all your friends and all the other owners in the league. It's a lot of fun. It's different.
That's hard.
Really looking forward to that. Yeah, you got to there's different strategies. You can go, boom or bust. You can get 3 really, really, really top tier guys, but then the rest of your team is going to be, late round guys. I don't think that's the way to go in an auction draft. I think depth, especially in the NFL where injuries and anything can happen. You got my auction strategy. Those in auction drafts would be pepper those.
I would agree 100% with you about that.
Pepper that 3rd through 10 round guys. Have a bunch of guys that are 3rd through 10 round, like $20 guys, $30 guys. Maybe you spend up on a couple $40 guys, but that would be my advice in terms of an auction draft. Get those, load up on those middle tier guys. Don't spend $70, $60, $70 on one guy. I don't think that's smart. I think because, Brad, if you have depth, you can trade. and maneuver your roster that way.
I agree with you.
Fantasy football is not quite like fantasy baseball because fantasy baseball, it's kind of like 6 week increments. You know what I'm saying? Like, very few guys can be relied on for all 162 games. You know, football, it's hard to do that because they only play once a week. So, you know,
and also
you played fantasy baseball with me before. I mean, I lead the league in trades every year. I'm always wheeling and dealing. It's harder to do that in football, but you can do it, especially if you have owners that'll play ball with you. So I think that's my advice to you auction players out there. Pepper those middle tier guys, $20 guys, $30 guys, $40 guys. Don't spend up that 60, 70 range. So Christian McCaffrey, those top 5 running backs we talked about at the top of the show, Kamara, McCaffrey, Henry, Cook, Zeke Elliott, none of them will be on my auction team. I can guarantee it. My 10 draft commandments. Now, these are for your traditional snake drafts. My 10 draft commandments, helping out the people. 10 draft commandments. Commandment number 1, you got to know the rules of your draft. Just learn the rules. Log on to your computer a few minutes before the draft. Figure out few minutes, few weeks, however in depth you want to get, and read the rules to your league. Figure out what you get points for and what you don't. Figure out how many running backs you have to start, how many flexes you have. I'm in 2 leagues that don't use kickers. So that's stuff that you have to know before the draft. You got to have a draft plan. Resources are good. You know, HUD Radio is a great source. The Sports Hounds are a great source. You know, there's different fantasy websites, outlets, and experts that I rely on heavily in my draft preparation. You know, but it's your team. You got to make the decisions. You got to prepare. You got to have your target list. You got to execute your plan. Don't panic would be commandment number 3. You know, if you know your plan doesn't come to fruition and you got to deviate a little bit, that's okay. Some of the guys you want are going to be on other teams. So we have know your rules, have a draft plan, and don't panic. Here's a good one, Brad, which can be tough when it comes to, you know, fierce rivalries in the NFL, like we have in the NFC East, the AFC West, the AFC North. NFC North has some good rivalries as well. Don't be biased. You know, you can kill your chances. You can absolutely kill your chances by being biased.
Oh, yeah, you can't. No, when it comes to fantasy, you have to – and the same applies for baseball, Rob.
Yeah.
Same applies for baseball. I mean –
I'll gladly have Zeke Elliott on my fantasy football team.
Yeah. You can't – yeah, you can't –
I'll gladly draft Dak Prescott if I think he can help me beat my buddies and win me money.
A couple of years ago, I drafted Xander Bogaerts. I can't stand. He's one guy I just can't stand. But you know, it is what it is.
I used to draft Tony Romo. I've drafted Tony Romo on probably my least favorite football player of all time. Least favorite football player. I've had him on.
Hey, I would draft Emmitt Smith, although I might get sick after I do it, but I would. I would draft Michael Irvin if I had a chance.
So don't be biased. You got to know your website. You know, all these drafts, majority of them originate on ESPN, Yahoo, or CBS. They're the 3 big boys. But if you're not going to formulate a draft plan or do anything pre-draft and just rely on the list that those websites give you, you know, it varies from website to website. ADP, average draft position, varies from website to website. The sleepers, breakouts, and busts vary from the experts from site to site based on who they like. So you got to know your website. The preliminary by the book rankings, they vary a great deal from website to website. So you got to know which guys are valued by which website and kind of play the value game based on your website, as well as who you like and what your team needs are at a specific pick. Here's a good one, Brad. Don't draft a quarterback before round 8. That's a little deep.
I like it is.
I don't think it is. Brad, currently on Yahoo, Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers are both being drafted in the 8th round based on average draft position.
Really? Wow. Okay. Yeah, I usually go round 5.
And that's fine. But I'm not as my experience and expertise would suggest that drafting a quarterback before the 8th round is a major mistake.
See, it depends who's available as running backs and receivers. It really depends on who's out there. You know,
Brad, I'll have a different starting quarterback every week before I draft a quarterback.
To me, it's all about once you get past the first 3 rounds, I think it becomes all about value. And you have to be smart. Who's going to give you the best bang for your buck once you get past there?
But like, you don't have to pick a guy like Jalen Hurts before the 8th round.
No, you're absolutely right.
You don't have to pick a guy like Ryan Tannehill, who I absolutely love this season. I think he's being drafted entirely too late. He's going to be drafted up in the 8th round. Kirk Cousins killed it last year. He got drafted after the 8th round.
What about Josh Allen? Where are you drafting him?
All
the yards he gains running the ball, it's tough to.
Yeah, he's going to go before the 8th round. I can guarantee that. I think he's got a 4th or 5th round ADP right now on Yahoo. All my leagues are on Yahoo, so I can't speak to CBS or.
What about a guy like Russ?
Russell Wilson is right in that 8th round according to his ADP on August 23rd. So
he doesn't run as much as he used to. A guy like Allen runs a lot, so that's the kind of guy that you might make.
If I take a quarterback that runs a lot in the 3rd round, 4th round, then he gets himself hurt running the ball, my season's over.
That could happen. I mean, listen, it can happen in any round. Quarterbacks get hurt. I mean, that's just part of.
Yeah, but a quarterback that gets hurt as a throwaway pick in the 10th, a double-digit round, I can recover from that.
Yes, you can.
I can't recover passing on a guy like Terry McLaurin to take Josh Allen, and Josh Allen gets hurt because there's no
McLaren,
way.
McLaren, I would draft McLaren.
You're relying too hard on Josh Allen, picking him in the 4th or 5th round, in my opinion, to have the type of season he did last year, which might not be repeatable. He had an unbelievable season last year in the 4th round. Whereas opposed to a guy like Terry McLaurin, that's just an example.
Terry McLaurin I would draft over a quarterback. It depends on who you're talking about.
It's true, but as a rule, as a blueprint,
you're not wrong. I mean, I think you convinced me. I think you're right. I mean, I've always kind of liked to go 5th round for my first quarterback, and I usually pick up a backup around round 12, round 13.
Like Justin Herbert's going around like the 7th round. Like, I'm not doing that. He's a 2nd-year guy. He's got
I wouldn't pick him that early.
Got no track record. He looks great, and I'm a big fan of him. And if I can get him after the 8th round, he might be on my fantasy football team. But I'm not spending a earlier than an 8th round pick on a Justin Herbert, on a Josh Allen.
Well, you won't get Josh Allen if you wait till the 8th round to pick him.
Commandment number, I guess this is 8, is don't draft a tight end before round 8. This is this is tough because I consider Kittle, Kelsey, and Waller as receivers that you can play in your tight end spot.
Well, Kelsey, let's be honest, though. Kelsey is the top of the mountain, and it's a cliff to go down to the next 2. And then it's a cliff to go down to the rest of them.
Right. But,
you're at the plateau. You're at the top plateau with Kelsey. You're like here. Then you go down here for the next 2. And then after that, you could pick anyone. It's not going to make all that big of a difference.
So there are guys that can give you receiver production, like Travis Kelce, like George Kittle, like Darren Waller. But past that, I mean, I don't know what kind of tight end you're looking at that you're taking before the 8th round. But, I'll take Zach Ertz in the last round. If I miss the boat on tight ends, I'll take Zach Ertz. I'll start him.
Well, you could also take Evan Ingram late. and you might get some decent production out of him.
Ingram.
I mean, I know I'm always killing him, but he'll get his catches and he'll get his touchdowns because he's so darn fast. But he will annoy the hell out of you when he drops a ball.
Matt Walsh, he drafted Jalen Hurts and Ryan Tannehill as his quarterbacks this year. That's great. I would encourage people who haven't drafted yet, only draft one quarterback, only draft one tight end. Get your backs and receivers. And again, I preface these statements by considering the three top tight ends, Waller, Kelsey, and Kittle. I put them in I rank them with my receivers because they're receivers.
Tight ends, you could always just pick one up every week too. If you have to, you can just get a tight end that's playing against a lousy defense.
Last two commandments. Draft your defense in the second to last round. Like, don't be an idiot and draft a defense in the 10th round. You can get good players in the 10th round. The defense is a defense. Play a new defense every week. What you should look for when you're targeting your defense is I like to target because remember, Brad, not only do you get the team's defense, you get their special teams as well. So I like to draft a defense in the last round, second to last round, very, very late in the draft. A team that has a dynamic return guy. Because that's a touchdown for your defense.
Washington?
Sure.
Because McLaren returns kicks.
I would have to look up who they're actually going to get.
Didn't McLaren return punts last year?
I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, I thought he did. But I'm just using him. I know he returned a couple of punts against the Giants. And, you're always like, oh, boy, be careful when you punt to him. Don't hit a line drive in the middle of the field.
And then pick your kicker in the last round. Don't take Justin Tucker and don't be an idiot and draft Justin Tucker way too early. Stupid.
Yeah, that's pointless.
Kickers don't gain yards. They don't catch passes. They don't score touchdowns. Don't waste a premium pick in the latter parts of the draft to get a kicker. You'll find one. Pick kickers with big legs that kick in domes. That's all I have to say about kickers. I'm in 3 leagues this year, Brad. 2 of them don't even use a kicker.
There you go. And I agree with you. I agree with you. It's very important to try to get a kicker in domes because once you get to November and December when the weather starts getting bad, it can be a major factor.
So those are the 10 draft commandments. Let me bring them up here again just to recap them. Know your rules. Have a draft plan. Don't panic. Leave your biases at home. Know your website. Draft high upside. I skipped that one. You should draft high upside guys in the middle and late rounds. Draft young guys who have – my strategy in the middle and late rounds is who has the best chance to be the top receiver in all of fantasy, as opposed to maybe a veteran who's maybe going to, be consistent. I'm a home run hitter. I'm trying to hit that home run. I'm trying to get that guy that has a lot of potential, a lot of skill, that has the best chance to be the best receiver, running back, quarterback, tight end in fantasy. I love upside in the middle to late rounds. That's probably the most important commandment I can preach to you. Don't draft the quarterback before round 8. Don't draft the tight end before round 8. And draft your kicker and defense with your last picks. Let's get into some of these positions, sleepers, breakouts, and busts. Let's start with quarterback. We'll just go right down. Brad, do you have any quarterbacks that you're liking, not liking?
Matthew Stafford.
As
time. Huh?
You like him?
Oh yeah. I would put him more as a sleeper because I don't think he's going to be one of the top quarterbacks drafted.
No, he's a guy that you could get on your team in the 8th round or later, and he's going to be just fine. Because I agree. Because we talked about at the top of the show how Cam Akers is going to miss the season with an Achilles injury. Malcolm Brown, who torched the Eagles last year in Week 3, he's on the Miami Dolphins. So they have Darrell Henderson as their only real viable running back. So it's going to be throw city for Sean McVay. He's going to be designing a lot of passes with those receivers.
Both of us. I think both of us like him too. But he's a guy. He's my classic guy to pick late, and he'll get you plenty of points. He'll throw plenty of touchdown passes. You won't have to waste a high pick on him.
And Matt Walsh, he's checking us out on YouTube, the fantasy football preview here on A2D Radio. We are the Sports Hounds. He's Brad Ryer. I'm Rob Brinkman. He drafted probably my two favorite. I don't know if they're sleepers or breakouts, but they're two guys that are going way too late in draft, and that's Ryan Tannehill and Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts should be the last pick you make.
Way too late in drafts. Well, Brad, hold on. Let's be objective about this because this is fantasy football. It's not real football. Did you see how many splash plays he made in a very small sample size last year?
Yeah, and I also saw that he got stuck. His last couple of games, he didn't do very much anything.
Yeah, well, you got to be more consistency. But I'll take. We just went over it in the 10 draft commandments. Draft high upside in the middle to late rounds. Jalen Hurts is a high upside guy. Of all the quarterbacks going as throwaway picks late in draft, Jalen Hurts has one of the better chances to be the top quarterback in fantasy.
Come on, Rob. You got to be
saying he's going to be.
I don't think so.
If Jalen Hurts is my starting quarterback in a 12-person league, I'm sleeping fine that night after my draft. Sleeping totally fine. Same with Ryan.
If he's your number one quarterback, you're going to be sleeping with the fishes at the end of the season.
Not true, because that means that I've spent my premium selections before Jalen Hurts. I have stacked receivers and stacked running backs.
But you still have to have a quarterback who gives you some points.
Hurts will be fine. He plays Atlanta week 1. Atlanta's defense stinks, and the game's in a dome. I think he's going to have a great week 1, and then I'll figure it out later from there. That's how late he's going in drafts. That I'm not pot committed to Jalen Hurts for the entire season. I could drop Jalen Hurts before his week 2 game against San Francisco because I don't like his matchup, and I'm not going to clog my roster up with more than one quarterback. Ryan Tannehill the same way. They should have
Tannehill's another story. I like Tannehill. And Tannehill won't be that high of a pick either.
2 quarterbacks that are studs going around the 8th round, which is my threshold for quarterbacks, are Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. That's a little late. 8th round. If you can get 8th round Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, which is about where they're going, I think that's a pick that I would be extremely comfortable with. Barring injury, you're just going to put those 2 guys in your lineup every week except their bye week and be just fine.
Well, bye week, you can always pick up a quarterback.
Yeah. 2 guys I think are going way too high. Josh Allen is one. He's going way too high. You're looking at like the 4th, 5th round. That's just too high for me to pick Josh Allen. Great player. Big fan of him.
He could also he's also like a running back, though, because he's going to get you like 50, 60 yards running. And he might score a couple of touchdowns, too. That's the only thing.
Brad, I am skeptical about the entire Baltimore Ravens offense. So Lamar Jackson in the 4th or 5th round, that's not for me.
I wouldn't put him that high.
Brad, I fear that the other shoe might drop soon with Lamar Jackson. Because we see these running quarterbacks who can't throw the ball worth a lick like Lamar Jackson, and he's a great athlete.
Now he's got some better receivers, though.
Does he, though?
They have. I think he does.
Sammy Watkins is unproven. He's always hurt. I mean, he's proven to be an injury risk. When he's on the field, he's okay, but he's a little older now. Marquis Brown, he's a good deep threat. Rashard Bateman, who they picked in the 1st round of the draft. I don't know. I don't know.
I think these guys are better than what he's had in the past.
Evan Duvernay, he was a rookie last year. He returns the kicks, and he can do some things in the slot. He's kind of dynamic. I don't know. You lose Mark Ingram, which is going to hurt them both on and off the field, even though I like J.K. Dobbins. But, I mean, you're mixing in a guy like Gus Edwards as opposed to a Mark Ingram. Now, I understand Mark Ingram is a little bit older, but I don't know.
Mark Ingram, he is old. I don't know how much tread he's got left in the tires.
Well, the Houston Texans are going to find out because he's going to probably touch the ball quite a bit down there in Houston.
Yeah, Gus Edwards. I mean, how much is Gus Edwards really going to carry the ball? Isn't he more of a guy that comes in to score touchdowns?
He's a bigger kind of.
He's a touchdown vulture. Yeah, he's a touchdown vulture.
They have the kid from. I forget his name. The kid from Oklahoma State, the rookie. He was a rookie. He's a younger player, so I guess they're going to give him. Maybe a little more run, but I don't know. Has the league figured out Lamar Jackson? Because Buffalo gave him fits in the playoffs last year. He couldn't get anything done. And
no, they wouldn't.
The one time he did get something done, he made a critical error in the red zone. It turned into, I think it was a pick six that just totally iced the game. So I have my eye of skepticism on the entire Ravens offense. I think they're going to have a tough time this year in the a very, very, very good at AFC North. Porter Rock, thanks for checking us out on YouTube. Sanders going to kill it this year. We will actually run the ball. We talked about that at the top of the show. It's a great segue into running back because Miles Sanders is going entirely too late in drafts. I mean, you're looking at third, fourth round for a potential bell cow running back in Miles Sanders. I mean, that's a steal. He's a steal in auction drafts. He's a steal in snake drafts. Miles Sanders, I get on Miles Sanders a lot, but if Miles Sanders doesn't do it this year, then you need to turn the page at the running back position if you're the Philadelphia Eagles. He's going to get every opportunity to be an absolute bell cow for this team. Nick Sirianni's going to run the football. Miles Sanders can catch the football. He'll have whether he catches it, he drops the ball a lot, but he'll have opportunities to catch the football as long as he doesn't drop it. And, you know, I don't really trust Jordan Howard, who looks to be his primary backup. Now that
Jordan Howard's going to run the ball. He's not going to catch the ball, though.
Yeah, but he's probably going to be the number 2 on the depth chart with Kerryon Johnson being cut. They kind of have a scat back Darren Sproles guy that they picked out of Memphis and Kenneth Gainwell, who's an interesting sleeper, especially if you're in a dynasty league or an auction draft. He should go for $1 or $2 in an auction draft. It wouldn't be a bad buy in case Miles Sanders does stub his toe a little bit, fumbles the football, drops the ball. But, I mean, Brad, I love Miles Sanders this year. I think he's going with the price is more than right on him, and I think he's going to 12 to 14.
It's now or never for him, for sure.
Eagles have a great offensive line.
He has the ability to be a very good running back in this league if he stops turning the ball over. I mean, that's really been his one glaring issue. We know he can run the ball. We've seen it. But again, he sometimes is careless with the football. He needs to make sure that doesn't happen. But as far as fantasy goes, he should be very good with fantasy. I would draft him. I draft him in the second round if he's available, and he's next up on the board as a running back. So I do agree with you about running backs being the most important position as far as drafting.
Another guy going entirely too late in drafts, one of the most underrated running backs in the entire league is Chris Carson. He got a little banged up last year, but I wouldn't call him injury prone. Underrated pass catcher. He's going to get you 1,200 yards. He's going to catch the ball 50 times. I don't think he'll have a problem getting double-digit touchdowns either. So, I mean,
here's one for you. Here's one for you. Sony Michelle.
Interesting. a very interesting because you want to talk about a year. I mean, Sony Michelle is a first-round pick for the New England Patriots.
Exactly, and I think that they're going to run the ball a lot more this year.
It's a good. I love Sony Michelle in auction drafts when you get your studs and you need a couple dollar guys to fill out your roster. I love Sony Michelle in auction drafts.
He's the kind of guy that he's a home run kind of hitter. You won't have to pay the big bucks for him, but he could really, really get you where you got to go.
And then I think they're going to have to run the ball there in New England, Brad, because look, you can't drop assuming Cam Newton's the quarterback, which I think he will be, but it goes for Mac Jones too because he's a rookie. You can't throw the ball 45, 50 times with Cam Newton or Mac Jones.
No, they're going to run the ball. And Sony Michelle, I always liked him. I think it's only a matter of time before you really see something out of him.
Perhaps it's a good deep sleeper. Two guys I think are going entirely too early in drafts. Saquon Barkley. I mean, I'm just not spending a first-round pick on him. Not because I think he's a bad player, but, I mean, I'll steer clear of the knee injury.
Well, you got to see him play first.
I'm not going to see him play before my fantasy football draft.
No, and he's not going to play. He's not going to play in preseason at all. So it's a big risk. Drafting him in the first round is a big risk. Because I look, if he's healthy, he's definitely a first round pick. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I mean, he can do it all, but we have to make sure that he's healthy and he's going to be really ready to start the season.
Josh Jacobs in Oakland, or excuse me, not Oakland, Las Vegas on the Raiders. That's a no thanks for me as well. You're not going to have to spend if you do like Josh Jacobs, you're not going to have to spend a premium pick on him, but I think he's going to be look, John Gruden, he always does this with young running backs. He runs them into the ground, and then they're out of the league way too early. And they signed Kenyon Drake in the offseason, so I think he's going to be in a little bit of a committee. So, I mean,
here's one for you, Rob.
I'd much rather take Kenyon Drake in a later round than Josh Jacobs in the fourth or fifth.
What about a guy like Murray, the quarterback on Cardinals?
I mean, he's just going too high for my liking. He's going in like the fourth, fifth round. You got Murray, you have Josh Allen in Buffalo, and you have Lamar Jackson kind of going all in that fourth, fifth round range. That's just too
because they run the ball.
I hear you.
See, Murray, I'd be worried about Murray getting hurt, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean,
that would be my concern because I don't think Murray really understands that going out of bounds is not a bad thing.
Well, he's young, and hopefully he can mature. But I think this is kind of put up or shut up time for especially Cliff Kingsbury out there in Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, you've got DeAndre Hopkins out there, who's a top receiver. Now, where would he be going at this point? A guy like DeAndre Hopkins.
I mean, he's probably a second, third round guy.
See, if you can get
honestly, that's probably based on his talent. Like that's probably a little low. Real quick on running backs, 3 committees that I feel strongly about a guy getting the majority of touches over the committee. I think Myles Gaskin is the back to own in Miami. I think James Robinson is still the back to own in Jacksonville, even with the flashy first-round pick of Travis Etienne, who I love. I think he's going to be a great player. I think there's room for both. I think James Robinson is going to significantly outscore Travis Etienne from a fantasy standpoint. And I think Raheem Mostert is the back to own over Trey Sermon in San
Francisco. Yeah, I would agree. What about Leonard Fournette?
I can't make sense. I have no idea. I have no read on that committee down there in Tampa Bay because you have Ronald Jones, you have Fournette, and you have Giovanni Bernard coming.
I'm not really sold on him
down there.
Bernard is not going to start over.
I get it, but he's got a different skill set than Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette, so that might get him touches. So I'm avoiding all the Tampa Bay running backs. If someone else is confident that they have that situation figured out, have at it. I'm not. But
well, Tampa Bay, you're going if you're grabbing somebody from Tampa Bay, you're grabbing Mike Evans. Let's just put it out there. I mean, that's the guy to get.
Yeah, Godwin and Brown, I don't trust. Gronk is old.
Yeah, now Gronk, I don't know that Gronk can stay healthy for a whole season either. Mike Evans is the man if you're going to get somebody from Tampa Bay. That's your guy.
I don't know what's going to happen in terms of I don't know how the Denver committee is going to play out in terms of production.
Well, who knows?
Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon, I'm not touching that. I'm not touching any running back on the Jets. They have Michael Carter, a rookie out of UNC, as well as Tevin Coleman. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't go there. Their offensive line isn't good enough to take a run.
I do like your Sony Michelle sleeper pick, but I mean, the book is out on Patriots with their running backs. I mean, they use different ones, they mix and match, so it's tough.
Might be different this year. They've got to find a way to score points. They didn't do it last year. I think that Belichick knows he's got to run the ball a lot more this year. You got a rookie quarterback, and you got a quarterback who basically last year shit the bed. So,
all right, moving on to receiver. I talked about Diggs. I think he's going a little bit too high. I mean, good God. I mean, we can talk. There's so many receivers. Brad, which is why it doesn't really – I'm not really inclined to pick Metcalf, a Hill, and Adams, a Hopkins, at the top of my draft because, I can get Robert Woods. I can get Keenan Allen late. A guy I really like on the Pittsburgh Steelers is Deontay Johnson. Such an underrated PPR player. He was probably going to have 180.
What about the kid that killed the Eagles last year?
Chase Claypool?
Yeah.
We'll see.
He looked awfully good last year.
He did, but
Smith-Schuster's probably going to get most of the
well, you have Juju. You have three good receivers, and they're going to run the ball this year. You don't pick Najee Harris in the first round to, air it out.
Well, they're going to try to.
They're going to have much more balance this year. So I don't know if there's going to be enough passing opportunities for three receivers to, make their nut, so to speak. Deontay Johnson is the Steelers receiver that I'm targeting in drafts. You go down the board at deep sleepers. Deep sleeper receiver Bryan Edwards on the Las Vegas Raiders. The beat writers can't stop raving about him. John Gruden can't stop raving about him. They're going to be losing an awful lot, Brad. So that's good.
Yeah, I don't believe in the Raiders at all. Not at all.
That's good for garbage time. Shenault down in Jacksonville. I think that's a prime breakout candidate. He has all the tools. He's got a little bit of an injury history, so don't overdraft him. But I think Shenault on Jacksonville is a great breakout candidate. I think Gabriel Davis. You go further down the draft board. You look at Gabriel Davis down there. In Buffalo, I think he's the clear number 2 receiver. I'm getting a number 2 receiver for a franchise quarterback, and Josh Allen and one of the last picks of the draft. I think that's a no-brainer.
What about the gentleman in Indianapolis?
Which one?
The older one. I just can't remember his name.
T.Y. Hilton?
T.Y. Hilton, yes.
Again, obviously everything depends on Carson, the health of Carson. Is he going to be MVP Carson, or is he going to have his head up his ass Carson?
Well, that we don't know yet.
No, I would target from a value standpoint. I can get Michael Pittman and Paris Campbell a little bit later than I can get T.Y. Hilton, and I think that would be the play there. Russell Gage in Atlanta. He's going to be the wide receiver too. I could talk about receivers. I could talk receivers the whole rest of the show. Russell Gage.
Tyler
Lockett. Yeah, I mean he's a little. He's on a different tier up than the guys that I'm talking about right now.
No, but you'll get 5-6 catches a game. You'll probably get a touchdown every game.
Seattle's going to be I think Seattle's going to be an excellent team.
Yeah, they're going to score. They're going to score a lot of points. I don't know about their defense, but they're going to score a lot.
Devontae Smith in Philadelphia, going entirely too late in drafts. I know he's a rookie, so maybe you have to be patient with him, and he's been injured in camp, so maybe you have to be patient with him the first couple of weeks, but he's going to catch the ball. He's super fast. He runs good routes.
He'd be a bargain late. You don't want to make too big an investment on him. But he's one of these guys. You never know. He could be another Metcalf. You just don't know. Or it could be another Jefferson.
Portia Rock, Wentz will start week 1. Pittman will have a big year. Yeah, I like Michael Pittman, but I don't know that Carson Wentz is going to start week 1. I have no idea.
I haven't heard that.
These reports, I don't put much stock into them until I actually see what's going on week 1. I'm trying to think if there's I think Brandon Ayuk is a much better fantasy investment as opposed to Deebo Samuel. So he would be the receiver I would target down there out in San Francisco. Tight end, I'm not really looking at tight end until the 8th round. I like Mike Gesicki in Miami. I think that could be a good safety blanket for Tua, a young quarterback. I like Noah Fant in Denver. I think that could be an interesting sleeper pick there. I think T.J. Hawkinson's going way too high in drafts. Tight end.
You are leaving Galladay out, which I think is a big mistake. But I know you're prejudiced against the Giants. But
I don't believe in Daniel Jones.
Galladay is better than any receiver on Philadelphia. So I don't know how you could talk about Devontae Smith when Galladay is a proven commodity and a big-time receiver.
Because I think Daniel Jones stinks, and I'm unsure.
Daniel Jones is better than any quarterback on your squad right now.
Yeah, I don't know.
Much better.
That. This is the big year. This is the big year for Daniel Jones.
I do. He's better. He can run, and he can actually throw a pass, which your guy, the only thing he can do is throw long. He's got no touch, and he can't throw short passes.
Yeah, he's only started 3 games.
Well, that's no excuse. You're comparing the two. Jones is better right now. I would take him over Jalen Hurts any day of the week. And Kenny Galladay is good. He may not be a 2nd or 3rd pick, but he could definitely be
something. It's always something with him.
Well, it'll be fine.
If I were gonna have a Giant on my fantasy football team, it would be Darius Slayton.
Darius Slayton's their 3rd receiver this year.
Yeah, but it's all about value, Brad. I think I might be able to get 6-7 touchdowns out of him if Daniel Jones proves he can play in one of my last rounds in fantasy football.
Well, he does love Slayton. I agree with you, but you're probably talking about Galladay is going to have a big impact on Daniel Jones because he's going to be the one that he's throwing the ball to all the time.
Porter Rock, Daniel Jones will have to spread it around. Smith will have better stats than Galladay, plus Giants' defense is way better and will be trailing a lot, airing it out.
Giants' defense is better than the Eagles. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, he said it's way better.
Okay, yeah. So what's he talking about? I don't even understand where
he says we will be trailing a lot. So
the Eagles will be trailing a lot.
So yeah.
Oh, so he's thinking they're going to run the ball a lot.
Mr. Rock there is an Eagles fan, considering he has the Deshaun Jackson avatar for his picture.
Okay.
I don't know, Rock. I mean, I think that the Eagles are going to be closer to 500 than people think.
A lot of people are thinking 4 to 5 wins with them, so I don't know. Again, I know preseason doesn't mean anything, but boy, 35-0 is not a good sign.
Yeah, who cares, Brad?
Yeah, but it's still a bad sign.
Okay.
You don't want to ever lose by that kind of
Well,
score.
all objective reporting indicated that they kicked the shit out of the New England Patriots both days of open practice. So am I supposed to put stock into that or 35-0? It seems like the trend in the NFL these days in terms of preseason and training camp is that a lot of stock gets put into these joint practices. And all objective reporting from Philadelphia, from New England,
of course, from Philadelphia, they always
indicated that the Eagles kicked the shit out of the New England Patriots both days.
Philadelphia always reports that they're the best.
Right, it was from both sides. The New England people said that the New England beat writer said the same thing, and all the national people that were there.
I didn't hear that.
You're not looking.
Okay,
you get your glasses back on. You're not looking.
I never heard that. All I saw was 35-0 is not good.
Late to the party. Pete Evans in the house. Late to the party. We found a true statement regarding Stanton. Giants offense biggest problem is Daniel Jones. Yeah, I do.
I disagree. I think the biggest problem right now with their offense is their offensive line. I'm not sure about their offensive line.
Pete Evans also disagrees to the poll. Pete, who do you like? Who's your number one pick? Brad likes Kamara. I love McCaffrey. Tom Arnone likes McCaffrey. Jake Friel likes Kamara. We'll have Pete break the tie if he's still with us. I do too, but I think Giants will be in a lot closer games than the Eagles. That's why I like Eagles receivers and Falcons and Cowboys teams that will be trailing a lot. It's a good strategy. Load up on receivers on teams that you think are going to be big.
The one problem with the Cowboys is if Dak doesn't play.
Yeah, it's a disaster. We saw him last year.
Yeah, I mean, then as great as the receivers are, who's quarterbacking this year? Who's their backup this year? Do we even know?
I don't know, but it can't be worse than.
Well, we know who it's not because Andy Dalton signed with the Bears, right?
I think I was watching some highlights.
I don't know. That's what I'm asking you because I don't know.
I'm looking it up right now because I think Gilbert's still there.
Well, it's not that horrible quarterback that played when you guys played them.
Yeah, DiNucci, he's a clown.
DiNucci. Yeah, Yeah, when they said football, maybe he thought they meant soccer.
I know. I have to reevaluate the whole East with this shoulder injury.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't play, then it's kind of between the Redskins.
It sounds like it's an injury that he's going to play with, but is it sore? Is it? I don't know. Maybe there'll be some weeks where he can't go. Doesn't have a shoulder. He doesn't have a rifle. Like arm strength is
that was really his thing. Yeah, I mean he's more of a between the
intangibles, athleticism.
The only problem though, Rob, is if he's got
Garrett Gilbert. To answer your question, Garrett Gilbert is listed as their
backup
number 2 quarterback.
Okay. The problem with Dak is if he does have a bad shoulder, I mean, if he gets tackled on it, how many hits is he going to be able to take? I mean, you know what it is, Rob. They're going to go after that shoulder if they know a body part. It's like hockey, Rob. If they know a certain body part is compromised, what do you think all these teams are going to do? They're going to go right after that part, that body part. If he's got a shoulder issue, they're going to be going after his shoulder. They're going to try to tackle him on his shoulder or hit him on the shoulder.
Steelers fan one, we're not doing a live fantasy football draft on the show. We are preparing you for your live fantasy football draft. This is our fantasy football preview show.
Yeah, we're just trying to give you our opinion.
Presented by Specialized Physical Therapy, Dr. Paul Vidal. Our poll question was Christian McCaffrey should be the first pick in your fantasy football draft. Seems to be split. Seems to be split between Kamara and Christian McCaffrey. Derrick Henry also got a vote as well. But, Brad, let's get into some baseball. We got about 20 minutes left. Your Yankees playing the Braves, a big series.
1-1 tie in the bottom of the fifth inning.
Last
Stanton
fantasy
went deep for the Yankees. Swanson went deep for the Braves. Pitching duel right now.
Matthew Shatarsky. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your last name. Who would you pick at number 5? Picking at 5 is easy. You just take whichever
running back out of the 5 we mentioned.
Your pick is going to be made for you. McCaffrey, Kamara, Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott. Whichever one of them is there, you take them. Maybe someone does something stupid and you have your choice of the guys. But, I mean, picking at 5, that's easy. That's why I chose to pick 7th in one of my fantasy football drafts in my 12-team league, 12-team snake draft. I chose to pick 7 because I want to have my first-round pick chosen for me by default, and then I get an earlier second-round pick.
Okay, hey, Rob, just to change it up for 1 second here. Yankees in a big spot here. 1-1, bottom of the 5th, runner on third, 2 outs, Freeman up. Do you pitch around
Jordan Montgomery on the hill.
Mm-hmm. Do you pitch around him or do you pitch to him?
Pitch around them. I don't know if you're delayed, but they're able to get.
They got him out. He hit a line drive, but right to the center, right to what?
Yankees. Both these teams are on fire. This is a really fun game. It's on MLB Network in much of the country. Brad, I know you got.
I got it on yes. So.
DirecTV. You get yes with DirecTV?
Yes. Correct.
But it's a big time matchup based on how Brad, I'll start with the East and then we'll go to the American League because we got an American League matchup worth of note as well. The White Sox are leading the Toronto Blue Jays in Toronto 1-0 in the 6th inning.
I've kind of lost a little respect
for the
White Sox.
They're not winning. They're not winning games.
I know, but the White Sox got beat up by the Yankees. They got hammered by the Tampa Bay Rays. So I think they're a tier below the top teams in the American League.
The White Sox
win their division because there's nobody in that division that can challenge them. But I think that they're the 5th best team in the American League right now.
The White Sox.
Yeah.
See, now I still think I think the Yankees are playing unbelievable.
Yankees are red hot. Tampa Bay, you have to put them number 1 because they're just as hot as the Yankees. I put Tampa Bay 1. I put the Yankees 2, Houston 3, Oakland 4, and Chicago 5.
And Toronto, they just can't seem to make any hay in this wild card race. They really need a good series here against Chicago.
Yeah, they do, and
they got to start stringing some things together because they're 4.5 back in the wild card. And
well, they had a critical injury. They lost Springer again.
Right.
Speaking of critical injuries, the Tampa Bay Rays lost Nelson Cruz for COVID, and Ji-Man Choi hurt his knee yesterday. So those two guys
does it even matter with that team? They're just going to bring someone else up that's going to be a stud who makes no money, and that they'll go on another 10-game win streak.
That's a good question. Yeah, but is that someone they're going to bring up as good as Nelson Cruz, though?
No. Well, I don't know, maybe.
Is it someone who is as clutch as Ji-Man Choi? Because Ji-Man Choi is at least against Garrett Cole. He's like Willie McCovey against Cole. He's like the Cole killer.
Tom Arnone, Toronto is against it. I mean,
Toronto is against it. They got Barrios, but losing Springer hurts. It really, really changes the.
He was playing,
and he was on fire when he was playing.
And Tommy, he likes the Rays and the White Sox as the last two standing in the American League. Well, these kids are going to grow up in September. I really like the White Sox.
Don't like their pitching. their bullpen is
What do
very
you mean you don't
overrated.
like their pitching? I know they got knocked around by the Yankees, and I think it is going to be the White Sox and
They
the
got knocked
Yankees.
around by the Rays too. You know, as soon as Chicago plays a good team, they get their brains beaten. The Yankees beat them 5 out of 6. The Rays just destroyed them this weekend.
I can't buy the Rays. I can't do it. I can't pick the Rays 4 out of 7 over the White Sox or the Yankees.
Watch them
again. Do it. The talent disparity. It can't happen. It can't happen.
You guys are playing them the next 2 games. Watch how good this team is. I
understand.
I don't know where they get
the little
things from. They seem to pull players out of the stands to hit home runs. I mean, it's amazing that they pull pitchers out of the stands.
Brandon Lowe, Joey Wendell, like all these guys. Wander Franco is up. Finally.
Austin Meadows.
Austin Meadows is a beast. I get it.
I mean,
they're like, you look at that pitching staff. They're really gonna go 162 games plus playoffs playing these starter, opener, bullpen games like they did in the bubble last year.
They're 29 games over 500. I mean, they're doing it though.
I get it, but
it's unbelievable
what happened last year when they needed a big time performance from a big time pitcher. They pulled him out. Blake Snell. When the going got tough, they tried to play games, analytics games. That was the World.
That was the World Series, and it finally backfired on them. But they beat the Yankees and they beat Houston last year. I mean, there is no fluke about what they did last year, and they're doing it again. So I mean,
the fluke about Tampa last year is it was a 60-game season.
Yeah, but they're doing it again in a 162-game season.
I'm not buying them. I can't buy them. I can't.
You just watch how annoying they will be against when you play them. And you're going to say, how the hell, what? You're going to say, this team stinks. And then when you look up at the scoreboard, you're going to be losing to them. And then you're going to be like, I don't understand it. But they always win. And that's kind of what it is with them. And you think, oh, they can't really hit. But meanwhile, if there's a runner on second base, somebody always gets a big hit. You know, or they bring some schlep out of the bullpen that you've never heard of, and he comes in and gets a big strikeout. This is what they do. You know, plus they never make errors. They're a great defensive team.
I can buy them beating a team 4 out of 7. That's not the Yankees or the White Sox.
Yeah, you have a lot more faith in the White Sox than I do. I'm sorry, I'm not with you on the White Sox. The Yankees beat the hell out of them. Kimbrel stinks. The other one, Hendricks
stinks. Now Kimbrel stinks.
Kimbrel stinks.
Best closer in the National League for the whole season.
Now how has he done in the American League? He's getting pounded in the American League. Every time he comes in, he gives up a run or 2.
Well, he's got to figure out. He's got to get over the fact that he's not the look. They've got a month to get Roberts and Jimenez at bats and up to speed, and they have a month to redefine their bullpen roles. Because
Liam Hendricks, do you know what his lifetime ERA is against the Yankees?
I bet you're going to tell me right now, though, Brad.
Over 8. It's over 8.
But is that really a black eye? The Yankees are really good.
Yeah,
but he's really good. The Bronx Bombers for a reason.
The Rays are just as good.
Look, there's Liam Hendricks is a top 5 closer. He's a top 5 closer in all of baseball. So, I'm going to go with that, what I see over 162 game basis for multiple seasons now, as opposed to just a handful of games against a really good team that have had his number. And, is Liam Hendricks going to be fine against a Houston Astros team in the division series?
Probably not.
I don't know. I think the White
Sox
against
a good hitting team. Listen, I don't know if I believe in Houston's pitching staff in the playoffs either, Rob.
No, the Houston needed Scherzer.
Yeah,
needed Scherzer.
I think that Garcia and Framber Valdez have been a nice story, but in the playoffs, I don't believe in either one of them. I'm not so sure about Greinke. I think Greinke will probably be an effective pitcher in the playoffs, but the rest of the staff, I'm not so sure about them. Maybe McCullers. McCullers is pretty good, but the rest of the staff, I don't know.
Well, they're certainly not beating the Yankees or the White Sox or the A's. They might beat the A's, but they need.
They might beat the A's. They've owned the A's this year.
They need Bregman back though, if they want to make any type of noise in terms of going to a World Series. Now,
Bregman's supposed to be back tomorrow, from what I've heard, and I have him on my fantasy team.
They've got a month to get him ready, get him seasoned, get him his at bats, and get him rocking and rolling for the postseason. Because they're not beating the Yankees or the White Sox without Alex Bregman being a big part of what they're doing offensively.
The Boston Red Sox have looked awful. They were extremely fortunate to win today.
Yeah, walk-off grand slam.
Right, but what happened before that, they had a 3-1 lead going into the ninth inning, and Matt Barnes blew the save, and Texas tied at 3-3. In the 10th inning, Texas took a 4-3 lead, and I think it was Devers hit a fly ball to the triangle out in right center field, and Texas' center fielder got a glove on it, but he couldn't hold on. So Boston tied the game. Had he held on, that was the third out, and they would have lost 2 out of 3 to Texas. So, and they committed 2 more errors today. So that's 7 in the last 2 games. Boston's playing terrible baseball right now.
I don't think they're going to make the playoffs.
I don't think so either, although they do have an easy schedule this week. So you might see them win a few games.
We got the Yankees and the Rays. They're both going to make the playoffs. The White Sox are going from the Central.
It's going to be between the Astros are going to win the West, so it's going to be between the A's and Boston for that last wild card.
And I guess I would, out of respect for their young talent, I'll put Toronto in there until they're really out of it. And the Yankees are getting cooking here. And
they just took the lead. Giancarlo Stanton, by the way, ever since they put him in the outfield, has been ripping the cover off the ball.
He does this though. He goes on these epic Ruthian type hot streaks.
Oh, when he's hot. When he's hot, he's unbelievable. We just, we got to keep him healthy. That's all. But what they've been doing is smart because they don't play him in the outfield every day, and what they also do is late in the game they get him out for defensive purposes. So, and they also tell him not to run hard, which he doesn't. So hopefully he stays healthy. I mean, he could be a big part of this.
Spoke that ball into the. I'm assuming the Yankees are in their gray uniform, so this is a road game.
Yeah, they're in Atlanta.
So this would be this, and this is a 2-gamer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Yankees split the first series in New York, but back then they didn't have Stanton, they didn't have Judge, and they didn't have Voit.
I mean, the Yankees are a far superior team than the Atlanta Braves.
Well, I think where it's going to really show is in the bullpen. I think the Yankees are going to kill their bullpen. I think that's where you're going to see. That's where you're going to see it. Because I don't like Atlanta's bullpen at all. As I said to you when we were talking before, Rob, this is the Phillies' chance right here. Because I think Atlanta's going to get their brains beat in by the Yankees, and they're going to get their brains beat in by the Dodgers. So if you guys can turn it around and
I mean. You sort of thought, but the Braves have won 9 games in a row, but they beat the Nationals. They beat the Nationals 3 times. They beat the 3 worst teams in baseball. And my God, Brad, the Orioles are dreadful.
Yeah, the Orioles are in a class of the Orioles are in a class by themselves.
Something has to be done. Something has to be done in Baltimore.
Yeah, something. It's. I mean, what they lost 18 in a row.
18 in a row. That's a 5-star premium Brinkman play tomorrow, the Baltimore Orioles.
Who are they playing tomorrow?
They're playing the Angels.
Oh, Dylan Bundy's pitching against them.
Yep.
That's right.
At home in Camden Yards, 18 games, enough's enough. They're going to win tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree with you because Dylan Bundy's terrible.
I love him tomorrow.
Yeah, I think that might. I think you got something there.
I love the O's tomorrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, getting back to the National League, but I mean, I say that as a detriment to the Braves, but the Phillies win 8 in a row, then they go out to Arizona and they get swept.
Yeah, and then they go out and they win 2 out of 3 in San Diego.
The Padres aren't a good baseball team.
They've really been bad.
They're not a good baseball team.
They've been bad. Cincinnati's caught them, by the way, for those of you who are
the Cincinnati is going to be the wild card. The Padres
for
are
those of
not
you who are
going to the
keeping
playoffs.
score out there, and I know you are, Cincinnati has caught San Diego, and they are probably going to make the wild card.
And Brad, the only game that they won in Philadelphia against the Phillies, I mean, the Phillies kind of coughed it up. Aaron Nola flirted with perfection. They left him in a little too long. And he gave up a cookie to tie the game, and then they lost on a wild pitch in the 10th, which is a ball that should have been blocked by Andrew Knapp. Horrendous pass ball. So they won one game against the Phillies, who just
got swept by the Diamondbacks.
And the Phillies
badly San Diego's playing.
So the Phillies, they're going to pick up a half game tonight because the Phillies are off today.
Well, that's if the Yankees hold on. But I'm just saying, I think the Yankees have a pretty good chance to win tonight. I think they have a good chance to win either 1 or 2 games in Atlanta, and we'll see if the Phillies can somehow. And boy, I'm going to be a Philly fan the next 2 days, Rob. You know that. If they can somehow knock
this division is in play for the Yankees.
Huh?
This division is in play for the Yankees. What's it? 4 games?
It's 4.5, but 4 in the loss column. And keep in mind, last 3 games of the season are in the Bronx against Tampa Bay.
Ryan Swope checking us out on Facebook. Yankees will not go far. They are full of strikeouts, although they have a great bullpen. Yanks are home runs or strikeouts.
Really?
So
I just thought I saw something on the TV that just said that the Yankees lead the league in stolen bases in the second half of the season. Just asking, Ryan.
Padres killed Dodgers all year. It makes no sense. They're as bad as they are. I mean, something's missing. I don't know what it is. I think they're 1 or 2 starters short from their rotation.
I think that their bullpen is starting to fall apart.
I'm sorry, Ryan Weathers. He might be a good bullpen option, but he can't start games. I mean, the Phillies.
Well, they tried him.
He was throwing batting practice yesterday. The Phillies. Rhys Hoskins is back for the Phillies. He goes yard twice yesterday. This division is not over. I know the Philadelphia mentality is you get swept by the Diamondbacks.
They're not over. It's not.
To jump off the Walt Whitman Bridge and say the season's over, but don't give up hope. This division is far from over. The Mets are done. The Nationals are done. The Marlins are done. From a statistical win-loss percentage standpoint, the Phillies have the easiest schedule in baseball. I know everyone's going to jump in the comments and kill me for saying that because, Rob, how can you say that when they just lost 3 straight games on the road to the Arizona Diamondbacks? No doubt about it. The Philadelphia Phillies are going to have to do their part. They're going to have to sack up. They're going to have to put their big boy pants on, and they're going to have to win some baseball games.
They have to do a better job beating these bad teams. I mean, this is twice now that they've gone on the road against god-awful teams.
It happened in Pittsburgh and it happened in Arizona.
That's what I'm saying. They've lost 5 out of 6 in Pittsburgh and Arizona, and if they lose this division, they can just look right at those games and say, I mean, if they lose by 2 games, Rob, they can sit there and say, if we would have at least played 500 against the 2 worst teams in baseball, we could have won those games. That should never happen.
Brad, one stat worth noting now that Rhys Hoskins is back and healthy, the Phillies are 27-15 when Gene Segura, Rhys Hoskins, JT Realmuto, and Bryce Harper are all in the lineup.
Wow, they had that many injuries?
I mean, it's 4 guys.
Yeah, but
like Hoskins missed some time, Realmuto missed some
but
time.
They've only played
Harper missed some time. Really, the only guy that hasn't missed time is Segura.
I didn't realize you guys had so many injuries. My God, you guys have only played 42 games together. Boy, oh boy, that's tough to it's tough to play like that.
Because like Harper missed 2 weeks. Maybe it's in the second half. I don't
By the way, the Yankees have the secret weapon now out on the mound.
Jonathan Loaiza.
Loaiza.
You got to think this pen is going to be able to hold down, but Atlanta's been hitting.
True.
They've been hitting against trash.
Well,
let's see what they can do.
Loaiza is really good. Out of all the relief pitchers they have, he's the one guy I trust.
This Yankees bullpen is way better than the Baltimore Orioles bullpen, the Washington Nationals bullpen, and the Miami Marlins bullpen.
You think? They have a good bullpen, no doubt.
And we had a comment. Wild card's going to be Cincinnati and the Dodgers. I agree.
Yeah,
Joey Votto is making an MVP push. Harper made his push. Joey Votto is on absolute fire right now.
Yeah, Castellanos is back, and he started.
Castellanos is back. He's on fire. Jesse Winker's on the DL, so they're putting up these crooked numbers without, their leadoff guy.
Yeah, and he's been outstanding this year. You got to give a lot of credit to Cincinnati. I mean, they lose arguably a Cy Young pitcher to free agency in the offseason, and they really didn't do all that much to go out and improve themselves. Except just go out and play ball. And for half the season, their ace, Luis, what the hell's his last name?
Luis Castillo.
Castillo. He was terrible for the first half of the season.
Yeah, but they have these young guys that stepped in, and they're I'm talking about position guys. The Reds they really hit the ball.
Yes, they do.
They have the young guy Stevenson. He's come up and he's done a great job.
I got India.
Jonathan India is a stud. That guy's a baseball player.
Yes, he is. He is really good.
You still have Moustakas, even though he only plays against righties. You got Naquan, who's got almost 20 home runs. Who's a cast-off guy from the Indians. They bring him in. He's played great. Tucker Barnhart's a pretty good catcher. They're a pretty solid team. I don't think they have much of a chance in the wild card game because.
Yeah, but you know what? It's only one game though, Rob.
Maybe if they can be.
If they play the Dodgers in Los Angeles, okay, and I know it's a long shot, but if they play Los Angeles and they get an early lead, all the pressure is going to be on LA. Nobody's going to expect them to win.
It's true.
So you know what? They can go in there loosey goosey, not grip the bats real tight, and that's going to be a tough game for the Dodgers. Because, they're expected to win the World Series if the Dodgers come in second. Could be the Giants, too.
Giants are just – what a Cinderella story.
Giants are just having a magical season, right?
They have all these pitchers on one-year deals. They have a great bullpen. They're able to add Chris Bryant at the trade deadline to just put their everyday lineup over the top.
Yeah, they're everyday line. I mean, they're kind of the Tampa Bay Rays of the National League with that lineup they've got. I mean, really, who on that team scares you offensively other than Bryant? I mean, it's unbelievable. I watched those two games against
Brandon Crawford's having a great year. Posey's having a great year. Brandon Belt's having a great year. Like, they just turned back the clocks. All these guys that were instrumental in their, that little run they had from like 14 to 16 or 17.
They're just, because these guys
haven't right back in the mix.
These guys haven't been good in years, and Gausman. I mean, when has Gausman been? Gausman was good 10 years ago, all of a sudden he's an 8.
He's been okay, but he's a Cy Young candidate this year.
Yeah, he hasn't been as good the second half of the season. I mean, that's what I've been hearing. But I mean, that team just they find a way to win every night. It's always a different guy. I mean, yesterday it was a Solano. The day before that, who was it? Some little left-handed guy.
How about that comeback they had over Oakland?
That's what I'm talking about on Saturday. On Saturday, that was ridiculous how they came back in that game. And then Sunday they do that. They're down 1-0, and they come back and score 2 runs in the 9th inning.
Brad, you know who's heating up? Know who's starting to play baseball in terms of the National League?
Who?
Christian Yelich.
Oh, thanks, Rob.
He's swinging.
I'm eliminated, he starts hitting. Thanks, Christian.
Well, I mean, yeah, you waited till you were eliminated from playoff contention.
Right, yeah. Thanks, Christian. I appreciate the fact
he is hitting, and the Brewers have excellent starting pitching. The Brewers have an excellent closer in Josh Hader. The Brewers are going to be a problem in the National League playoffs.
Oh yeah, and you know what? And you know what?
Problem.
And they're an easy division winner, so they're not gonna get eliminated in one game. You're gonna have to find a way to beat them in a 7, especially in the first series in a 5 game.
They're going Burns, Woodruff, Peralta.
Oh yeah.
And that's 3 ace caliber pitchers right there.
Yeah,
I don't think they're getting enough. I don't think they're getting enough love at all.
No, and in a 5 game, it's still 5 games in the first round, right?
Yes.
How the hell are you going to beat that team in a 5 game
series? Extremely tough,
especially when they have home field too.
It's going to be extremely tough. I mean, the Cardinals are starting to make some noise in terms of the wild card because the Padres have they've just come straight back to the field. They've led all these teams just right back in this wild card race, including the Phillies. The Phillies or Braves, whoever finishes second. I mean, if they can win some games, like they could.
What is Cincinnati 12 games over 500 now?
Let me bring the wild card standings. Flight Zone's coming up next.
Okay.
A few minutes left. Make sure you stay tuned for them. Let me bring it up here. I think it's 4 back. I think the Phillies are 4 back in each of them.
Really? So they got a shot then?
Yeah, I mean, this NL wildcard race is really heated up.
Well, as I said, next 2 games, I will be a huge Philly fan. But you're going to see how annoying Tampa Bay is. And they are an annoying baseball team.
Right, so Cincinnati
figure out why they win, but they do.
Just a quick NL wildcard. Cincinnati is 69-57. Padres are 1 game back of them, even though they're going in the wrong directions. And then you have the Cardinals and the Phillies 4.5 and 5 games back. So the Phillies are 5 games back in both the division and the wild card. San Diego's going the wrong way.
No, and the Braves, we've already discussed the fact that the Braves are playing
We'll
Yankees and LA this week.
They're going to come back to earth.
Well, of course they are. They're playing the Yankees and Dodgers. Does it get any tougher than that?
All right, anyway, like I said, Flight Zone coming up in about 10 minutes right here exclusively on A2D Radio. Thank you to everyone who liked, subscribed, shared the show. If you missed the show, download us in podcast form wherever you get your podcast. Don't forget to turn on those notifications. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you to our great sponsors, Specialized Physical Therapy, John Coyle at All Campus on the boardwalk, Sunrise Detox, Alan Foy, EXP Realty. Thank you. Until next Monday. Peace out, everybody.